Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
All right, I'll go first. Ready? Nice. Special one. God, that is. I don't know why. That just sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I spent all week just practicing that.
Oh, I got to change mine back before I sound like a bot or something like that we don't want to hear.
And then you got to drink what you open. So
that's very true. So
it's becoming a problem here.
Oh no! Once again, low. There we go. Auto. Got it. It's back. I'm back. All right. So, Tad, welcome to episode 208.
208.
Yeah. Tonight, Kim Levinsky joins us later on for Sassquad trail running. Kim joins us for the fourth time. Lucky to have Kim back and lucky to have someone like Kim in our area doing the Sassquad trail running. As we learn later on, Tad, it's just, she's a blast.
Yeah. Well, she's a fun and nice person, and wow, what a story. She's really doing what brings, passion and happiness to the community, helping others, and
by supplying pickle juice.
Yeah, I mean, you're just gonna have to listen and hear about people in onesies and people puking, and then other good heartfelt things. But it's worth staying tuned for part 2.
I agree. So, Tad, you experienced this, and we're going to chat about this. Record cold temperatures have hit the area this previous weekend. So we had like colds down in the single digits, and then of course wind chills hitting -30, -40 in some certain areas, especially in the Catskills. And I'd have to say, I welcome this. I like this. I wouldn't say this every day, but with hiking, I wasn't out this weekend. I kind of regret that, but I can say that I would enjoy this on the weekends, but I can't say that I enjoy this going like from work and back and stuff like that. Like, I'm just like, God damn, this is too cold. But when I'm out hiking, I freaking enjoy it thoroughly.
Yeah, I get that. And when you say that, it just makes me think of like parts of the country where you can live and work in a area where the climate is more tame, and then head off to the mountains, which are an hour or two away, and just be in a totally different climate as you literally climb elevation. And when I say that, I'm thinking of places out in the Rockies. But it has been cold, super cold here. I note where I am, just outside of New Paltz, that there are days here where it's actually been colder than what they report the temperatures are in Denning or Tannersville, which I find interesting.
Yeah. You guys down in the valley, you had it like really cold. I remember seeing like -30. Well, I think it was like -1 was the high, which is insane.
Yeah. If maybe with the wind chill, that's what it is. I don't remember anything, the ambient temperature much below, -1 to -5, maybe. And that's at best early morning temperatures. But, it stresses everything, your vehicle, your garage door openers, everything's frozen. You could see why people, as they get older, they want to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Like one of my business associates is down in Florida for 2 months working from there because of the cold in the winter.
How old is that associate?
He's actually younger than me. He's in his 50s. Oh. Yeah, he's off playing golf every day and working remotely.
Yeah, but they don't have mountains. But still, they don't have to deal with the cold. I understand.
Yeah, he's not an outdoorsy guy. He's like a golfer guy.
Okay.
He thinks a golf course is the outdoors, and I'm okay with that.
I haven't golfed in a very long time, but I can't say that I agree with that. But good for him. Glad he can enjoy it and stuff like that. So glad that he probably is looking back at you and thinking that you're a psycho for hiking in this previous amazingly cold temperatures that we had over the weekend.
So we have a heat wave coming up. Right.
Yeah, I mean, today it was, Oneonta was 37 degrees high, and then we had rain a little bit. But, over the weekend, it was, I had a high of, like I said, like maybe 2 degrees, maybe. So heat wave.
Yeah. Just when you were getting used to the cold.
Exactly. And then people hopefully were dressing for the cold as we saw some people got out. So that's good. So speaking of that, we'll get into the next topic of forest rangers and staff rescue over 60 people at Gore Mountain that were stuck on a gondola. So the incident took place on February 5th, and it looks like 67 people had to be rescued after a cable car stalled on the resort. Gore Mountain revealed in a statement that Northwood's gondola was set to reopen after following the incident, and that the rangers and staff personnel had to rescue these people out of the gondolas, which were basically, I would say, looks like they were rope and pulley and like to set up and stuff like that. They stalled around 9 a.m. with the evacuation being completed at 2 p.m., which is not too bad. 5 hours later. It doesn't look like it was too crazy. It doesn't really say why they stalled. I mean, it kind of probably happens. Gore is Gore the New York State run?
Yeah, it's run by the New York State Olympic Authority, and I wasn't able to pick up a lot of technical details on this, but what appears to have happened, that a bolt broke, and when this bolt breaks, the pulley or guide wheel that it holds in place is now out of alignment, and then there's all these safety sensors on the cable that the gondola car is attached to, and so now these safety sensors trigger the automatic shutdown, and presumably there's no manual override, so the gondola has to remain inoperable until they replace these bolts and restore the alignment. And you say that 5 hours isn't so bad. Imagine having to sit in one of these gondolas for 5 hours when you have to go to the bathroom.
Well, I mean, you're I would say you're right on that one, because we also know that a lot of the skiers and the snowboarders and stuff like to ski down, get a drink, grab the gondola, and then go back up. So, once again, you're right.
Yeah, well, it's pretty early. I guess it shut down sometime between 9 and 10 a.m.
Oh, I'm already drinking by then.
Well, okay. But that's pretty early in the day. But to be up there for 4 or 5 hours, it's quite a long time to be up there. Thankfully for them, they're inside a gondola cab, so they're protected from the wind. Whereas, back in the old days when I started skiing in the 70s, and you would be stuck on a chairlift. I was never on a chairlift for longer than an hour. But being on a lift for 45 minutes, just sitting there in the wind, that's a long time to be sitting in the wind on a chairlift, waiting for the chair to start or to get a rope so you can hop down.
Yeah, that's a good point that you state. At least people were protected by the wind. I mean, February 5th looks to be not the event of the crazy wind chill and stuff like that, but right before it's 16 degrees. You're talking Gore Mountain. What's the elevation of like I would say halfway?
I don't know, but presumably if you're on the gondola, you're above tree line.
Yeah, so of course, yeah. So there you go. I mean, 16 degrees with wind chills, probably reaching in the low single digits. So, that's a good thing. And then of course the rangers and staff personnel come and do like rescue ropes and stuff like that. So they would have to kind of float down and catch them as well as kind of like guide themselves down. So there's no easy way to do that, to be honest.
Yeah. The temps I see low to mid 20s, negative 20s, approximate negative
shit.
4 to 6 Celsius. Yeah, so it was cold. It was, think of it this way. It would have been warmer to have sat in a freezer in your house for 4 or 5 hours than to sit in that gondola for 4 or 5 hours.
True. I mean, so now being at me is I've always been when I was skiing or snowboarding when I was young, we never really had to take a gondola up. We had the pulley system over at Scotch Valley. So how high is a gondola up in the air?
Yeah, it can vary. I don't know what the lift height is there. Sometimes it's really, really high. Particularly older units or units that are really more treacherous territory, the lift heights are much higher. But the modern trend in building these, and this is not an old gondola at Gore Mountain, but the modern trend is really just to try to keep the lift at or about the height of the trees along the trail. You want it higher than the trees, so if a tree falls down, it's not hitting the cable on the one hand. On the other hand, the higher you have it up, the more exposed it is to the wind, and then the more often you're going to have to slow it down or shut it down in high wind situations.
Yeah, correct. So we saw that this weekend. So that was a pretty crazy experience that people must have had.
So I want to know, if you were stuck in this gondola pretty much your entire ski day and you paid for a one-day ticket, right? $124. How much of the $124 did they give you back?
Bro, good question.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be a little pissed that you had to sit in this super cold gondola all day waiting to get a hoist down? If this thing shut down, let's say at 9:15, 9:30, you could have been you're going up your first time that day. You might not have ever gotten to take a ski run down. So your whole ski day is ruined. Surely when you get off at 3:00, we'll say, you're not going to jump on another lift and go to the top and ski down, right? You're going to go inside and try to get warm and go home or something. So did they give everyone a refund?
Good question. Did they throw up a beer to them and stuff like
something? Yeah, were they hoisting up, hot drinks, food? But the other thing is, could you imagine you really, 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 really have to go to the bathroom really bad? So what do? You have to, the door to your unit has to be open, and with one hand you have to hang on to a handrail or bar and then lean out of your unit and make sure all the rescue personnel are clear of the area below. But they sure know that when they come to rescue you from all the yellow snow underneath your unit, somebody relieved themselves up there during the day.
Yeah, and then once again, what if you have to do more than just number one? What if it's a number 2 event? Right. But also the ladies, how do the ladies do that?
Yeah.
You got to lean back and then wow. This turns into a whole different situation. Why haven't I seen stuff on social media about this event?
I don't know.
People would be crazy, be I'm stuck on a gondola for 5 hours, taking a piss or something. I've seen stuff about people taking up, I sent you that one thing of 20 twisted tees on his, he's what's it called? Duct tape, 20 twisted tees on there.
You know what we call that person?
What is that?
Smart.
Yeah. Is that what you guys used to do back in the day?
Well, we didn't have twisted tees back then, but we would bring up our provisions, if you will.
That's fantastic. And then once again, we're having, I think next episode, Steve Aaron's going to join us on talking about skiing in the Catskills from back in the days. I don't know when, from the 70s, 80s to now. So maybe he'll have some chat about that, and then you, Tad, you've been doing that as well. So it'll be a great conversation.
We hope so.
We hope so, definitely. So.
And I'm looking here, if in a couple of years, when I turn 65, I can go ski at Gore Mountain for $99 a day.
What did you do it before? What was your most expensive?
Most expensive, I don't remember offhand, but I do remember back when I was a kid, you could go ski during the week. You could go to a ski area for $5 a day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So 99, and the snow was much better back then. Now it's mostly man-made.
I was going to say, but now we're having a good year. We're having a good year.
Yeah.
So
if I make it to age 70, then the ticket price goes down to $65 a day.
Yes,
Lovely.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
The senior citizens discount.
Yeah.
Nice. Congrats. Well, hopefully you'll get to do that and then like recollect of what you did back in the days and be like, oh, this sucks compared to when I was a kid at 20 years old.
Yeah. I think by that time I'll just be too busy doing podcasts to have time for skiing.
We'll be doing this full time and getting paid for it, and we'll be all
Damn
over
straight.
the world.
Yeah. We'll have we'll be on one of the network TV shows in the mornings with Stash and Todd.
Stash.
We'll have to change our names because we'll be so famous. We'll have to have
Stash. Do you know my new real name?
Yes.
What is it?
It's
Bob.
Yeah. It's Bob and
Stash.
Larry. Bob and Larry's show.
You know my name because you said you were yelling at me going up the mountains, be like, come on, hurry up, Stash. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm an old piece of shit. But anyway, so I added this. This is not New York based. I added this to kind of like show people, we had a rescue back on Denning area. And that was once again the time frame of when the person called to when the Rangers got to them was significant. It was once again, you have to self-sustain yourself to kind of survive during that time. So this article I added here last second just to show people how time can be of an essence, especially. So multiple agencies rescued 2 on Camel's Hump in Vermont. So Camel's Hump is over 4,000 feet in Vermont, one of the high peaks in Vermont. And the Vermont State Police released this little blurb about this. So the Department of Public Safety Search and Rescue Coordinator and the Vermont State Police Search and Rescue Team helped lead an operation to save a pair of hikers on a life-threatening situation on Camel's Hump over the weekend. The rescue operation began about 6 p.m. Saturday, February 7th, when one of the hikers called 911 to report that he and his companion were along the long trail near the summit of 4,083-foot peak and extremely cold and needed assistance. Condition at the time included sub-zero temperatures, wind chills approaching minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and deep snow. Emergency crews directed the hikers, a 21-year-old man and a 19-year-old woman, both from Ontario, Canada, to the Alpine Trail and began descending below the tree line. Meanwhile, Vermont State Police Search and Rescue Team, Camel's Hump Backcountry Rescue, Huntington Backcountry Rescue, and Waterbury Backcountry Rescue began mobilizing the Monroe Trail in Duxbury. And also a team of rescuers began climbing the peak with additional crew equipped with a litter ascending behind them. Rescuers reached the hikers about 11:20 p.m., so that's 5 hours later, and found them suffering from hypothermia. Crews provided immediate treatment to the pair. 21-year-old was able to walk down the trail with assistance after being warmed. The 19-year-old was loaded onto the litter while continuing to receive treatment and was carefully brought down the mountain. They reached the trailhead 4 a.m., so 10 hours later, and they met the Waterbury ambulance, which transported the 19-year-old to the hospital for further treatment. Both individuals are expected to make a full recovery. Once again, they said that all these teams came together and made a great effort to get these people out of the mountains. But it shows that, once again, that you are not going to be rescued within an hour or two within the mountains. This takes time, especially in the winter time when you cannot fly up the mountain. You got to put your snowshoes on. You got to put your televators on. You got to haul a litter up. Once again, you're layering up, you're delayering. These rescue people are putting forth the hardcore effort to get you out. You think you're pushing up the mountain while you are trying to summit, but these rescuers are working even harder to get you off of the mountain. And that's why I wanted to show this, because once again, 6 p.m. this was started. and then 4 a.m. it ended. So 10 hours later. It's crazy to think about. And it's once again to make you think that the summit isn't that worth it. That if you have that feeling, that you have that gut feeling that I can't make it, that I need to turn around, do it. In fact, execute that gut feeling and then turn around, because it's not worth it. And, hopefully, I mean, we saw this in Denning with this person. Unfortunately, they were trapped in a situation that they got themselves into. They were off trail. So that was probably even worse for the Rangers. So this person was on trail. They could navigate them down. So they had kind of sort of an assistant, but still it was 10 hours. So unbelievable job by these Vermont State Police, all the Vermont Rescue. And I see this all the time in Vermont with Stowe Mountain Rescue. I follow them crazily on the Facebook page, and they have so many rescues on Stowe Mountain with Mansfield and stuff like that. So it's just, I'm blown away by this, Tad. I love talking about this search and rescue operations to make people aware that it doesn't happen in an hour or two. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, well, I don't know the terrain all that well, and I think there's a lot of relevant details that are left out of this news report as to, why the call-in was at 6 p.m., why it is that they were above tree line that late in the day. There's just, just a lot of facts and variables that the story leaves out. And I did read a story about a rescue over in the White Mountains, the Lincoln River area. Forget the name of the mountain that these folks were going to hike. And their problem got bad when they fell into the water once. They had dry clothes they changed into, and then their problem got really, really bad when they fell into the water a second time, and they didn't have any dry clothes to change into then. So, unexpected things do happen, and every now and then, you could be in a situation where you need a rescue. Knock on woods. I've never been in that situation in the woods. And in part, the hike I picked Saturday, given the conditions, I picked a hike that was deliberately where I could be gotten to pretty easily if I needed to make that call.
Yeah. And it just, once again, a lot of information, once again, talking about the elevation gain that had to be accessed by the search and rescue volunteers to where they were located. I'm not 100% familiar with the Vermont area, but it's very, very similar to the Catskills with terms of elevation gain, and stuff like that. But they have very several peaks above tree line. So that makes a huge difference. Vermont has had a lot more snow than we have. I mean, we've seen, Mansfield and Jay's Peak have over 200 inches of snow total. The total is once again, lost and stuff, but still you could be falling into spruce traps up there and stuff like that. So it makes a world of a difference, with conditions and such. Hypothermia is real, and that being the search and rescue, it's very, very scary. Not just being a volunteer and seeing it, but as a person, you don't know what's happening. And, I can't say that I've seen the different aspects of it, but I've heard of people, suffering hypothermia and ripping off all their clothes because they're too hot when they are in fact way too cold. Their body temperature is down, and it's a struggle, and it's definitely not something you want to deal with. So, yeah,
well, one of the offshoots of hypothermia is it generates cognitive impairment. You're going to make poor executive decisions. Your decision making is going to deteriorate as your physical condition goes downhill. So the prospects of self-rescuing get lower and lower the more hypothermic you get. these folks, the fact that they report that they were above tree line and that it was windy should give you a sense of what they potentially were dealing with, and that is just a lot of blowing snow. Their tracks are getting blown over, makes route finding hard. You don't know what navigation equipment they had or didn't have. I couldn't imagine, for an example, if I'm above tree line and it's blowing hard and I need to navigate, and the only thing I have to use for navigation is my phone.
Oh God.
Right. And the whatever gloves I'm wearing aren't good at that tactile, whatever it is, to get your phone to work. So then what do I have to do? Take off my glove to use my phone to navigate? That's not a recipe for success. That's going to make things really hard for you. So think about that. I know on Saturday when I went hiking, I was very cognizant of wearing super large gloves on the outside. And then I had these really, really tight fitting gloves. They weren't glove liners. They were gloves themselves that I was wearing inside the big oversized gloves. And that way, if I had to take off the big glove to do something, I would still have the dexterity to do that with these other gloves on without exposing my hands to the elements directly. So,
yeah. And that's the way to go about it, is kind of, would you say that's over preparing, or would you say that's preparing just perfectly for the situation?
I mean, it for me, it worked on Saturday, and just I think part of the preparation is not just having the right gear and the right equipment. It's having it accessible in a way that you'll see some people when they stop and they need to change something, it seems to take forever because it's buried in their pack. They have a hard time accessing it. They need to take off their gloves. Some people have never practiced like changing certain things with their gloves on. And then when they go to do it in real conditions, they have a hard time doing it because they've never zipped up or down their jacket and gotten it on and off with a set of big mittens on or something. And now it kind of throws them a curveball. And I find that the more time you spend stationary in conditions like this, the colder you're going to get. And I would point out that this weekend, I think my total hiking time was around 6 hours. And of that 6 hours, my stop time was under 15 minutes. Yeah. Because I just kept moving the whole day. Yeah, and that was the key to staying warm.
Definitely. And I agree with that as well. Once again, you're stationary. You gotta have like a system of where where to get your stuff. You can throw that pack off, pull it out, put it on, continue, and it doesn't matter, if you're snowshoes or once again, you need the thicker gloves to block that wind that you had this weekend. I'm kind of jealous that you got out in this times, man. God, I need Saturdays off, don't I?
Yeah. And I'm not going to say I wasn't even close to the conditions these folks were in. So they were, being bullshit. They were above tree line. At least I knew where I was hiking, that where I would have the most protection from the wind, where I would have the least amount of protection. I wasn't exposed, over tree line at any point in time. And I also point out that, in part my first mountain that I hiked was Balsam Lake Mountain. And if you're in a bad situation up there, they can come get you with the snowmobile. Okay. Yeah, it's not like the week before when I was out on Sugarloaf. There's a certain point on that hike that they're not coming to get you with the snowmobile. They might be able to take it, out pretty far, or if they just drive to the end of Mink Hollow, they're really not that far from Sugarloaf. But I'm sure where these folks were hiking this past weekend, there was an accessibility issue. And that's something you need to take into account when you're going out in more extreme conditions, is how accessible are you? It's like this past weekend, I would have really thought hard about whether I'm going to hike to Cornell Mountain or back. I certainly wouldn't have bushwhacked it this past weekend.
Like you usually do.
Yeah, because you're just exposing yourself to a lot of potential problems doing that. And even a trail hike out to Cornell on conditions like we had Saturday, it increases the difficulty that they're going to have getting to you. And those are things you ought to think about. And when you're doing a grid, plan to have, on conditions like we had this past weekend, plan to have hikes available that if the conditions are bad, you can still go out and hike, but you're just not going out and doing, you're not hiking Catskill, High Peak, and Round Top in those conditions. That's not to say I wouldn't have done it, but I didn't have to do it this past weekend.
Jeez. Nice. So we'll hear about that later. So I'm curious to hear about that. So wanted to point that out once again. The rescue time that you think that's going to happen is way different from the rescue time that's going to happen. So wanted to point that out. So yeah. So thank you once again to the monthly supporters, Bob McLean, Chris Kirby, and Eric Rosario, Jeff Trotz, Vicky Ferrer, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A., Denise W., Vanessa, and Jim C. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Greatly appreciated. Once again, your money is not going to just the show. It's going back into the Catskills. So, Tad, you have something about the show.
Yeah, so you thanked our monthly supporters for supporting the show, and that made me think of the big show on Sunday, Super Bowl 60, where the cheapest tickets, they call it the get-in price. If you bought them through TickPick or Ticketmaster the day before the event, you would have spent somewhere around $3,200 to $3,500 to sit up. To sit up in the 400 level seats. If you were able to find a better seat, the best seat options offered the day before the Super Bowl ranged in price between $15,000 to $30,000. So I look at those prices, $15,000 to $30,000, and I ask myself, you could basically, for one of those tickets, prepare anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 meals at your local food pantry. Right. For homeless people or people that just don't have food in their house and they need help this time of year. Yeah. On the other hand, a bowl of nachos at the Super Bowl was $10 and a beer was $23. But I suppose if you can afford a $15,000 ticket, $10 nachos is a bargain.
I was going to say, like I think it's pretty. It's more expensive down at the Yankees.
Probably. But what I will say that the real value, the real best seat option, which is free, is what?
At home.
Well, no, it's listening to Inside the Line. It's free. You can listen to Inside the Line all you want. Stuff your face full of nachos and beer without paying us a red cent. But you should, because Stosh gives all the money away to good local causes.
Like the Forest Ranger Foundation. Yeah.
There you go.
Local organizations, which I'm very proud of. So, and then once again, we have our amazing sponsors like Outdoor Chronicles Photography. So Molly and Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and the White Mountains. She's an officiant for getting married and a licensed guide, but most importantly, she is a story maker. Molly won't just give you photos, she'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even just brush up on some of your old skills and hiking in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school. Scott and Joe from the New Jersey Search and Rescue Team have an amazing background in wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, and the Mountain Rescue Association, and they are here to help you learn old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. They teach anything from first aid, map and compass, and many other skills that could help you and others while on the trail. Check them out on their website and social media platforms. Scott and Joe will be here in an episode or two talking about their organization, which I highly suggest people check out down in the area. So Are you really outdoors? So mention the podcast on one of your hikes through social media, and we'll chat about it in the show. Tag us by typing at ITL Catskill MTM podcast. So Kelsey G was on Round Top, and then Bly and Bearpen, and then did the Hunter Loop tagging Hunter and Southwest Hunter. So Kelsey G, she just got into me like last second, like seriously, like 25 minutes ago. So it was pretty cool to see that. She's been ripping it up out in the area. So just like you, Ted. So you went over the Fly and Bearpen area. So
Yeah. Also, I think Kelsey G is probably getting in twice as much hiking as I am. So kudos to her.
Well, she's half your age, so.
Well, but yeah, she also lives up there. I think her job makes it easier for her to get out during the days, but whatever. Glad to see that she's out there hiking up a storm.
Agreed. And she also do 3,500 club hikes.
Yeah, I think she has one going on tomorrow, which is Wednesday for us before this is released. So I hope that goes well for her.
Yeah. She'll have to tag the show about that. So don't forget to tag us, Kelsey. Also, Todd, aka T-Bold Outdoors, was out enjoying some winter somewhere, and then visited Catskill Falls. Looked like he went behind the falls and stuff like that, and enjoyed them. Hopefully, influencing people to use their spikes and safety devices on Catskill Falls. It was, that could be a crazy show as well. So,
you think you need a hard hat?
I mean, Tom Hoos posted that some ice fell, so that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that, ice climbing is something that I would never do in my lifetime, just because of kind of like the, how do you say, insecurities of what could happen. Like slamming into the ice and then it just goes. It's
well. I guess that's what makes it fun.
Thrilling, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I just find that insane. But I love the pictures of people climbing Catskill Falls, and it's just like, wow, look at that little speck on Catskill Falls. It's insane.
Well, I think if you're going to go out and do that, you need to know your ice. And some ice is more stable and less prone to cracking and giving away to other ice. And I think that's a level of knowledge that you pick up when you engage in that sport, or something that you should acquire knowledge of when you go out ice climbing, is what is going to be good to put an anchor into and what you need to avoid.
Correct. And why you need kind of like guidance. And I'm pretty sure Joe from Trail Bomb Project does that with the Mountain Rescue Association. He does kind of like a little area upon that. So we'll chat about that in a couple episodes. So good to see Joanne Beyond Blazes back. She overcame the urge to be a couch potato and hiked to Wyndham on a super cold Saturday. Tad, I did not. Did you do that on purpose?
Well, no, that's what she said in her post. I mean, that's just a cut and paste out of her post. She was going to be hanging out on the couch, eating Pringles and drinking, Coke,
hard ciders.
And she decided that she could do that tomorrow and watch the Super Bowl on Sunday and go out hiking instead on Saturday. So yeah, she posted some really nice pictures. We know that Joanne, or as she is known to her friends, Joe Animal, is out gridding.
Nice.
So yeah, and that's a good hike to do on a day when there's just really cold conditions. Wyndham is very accessible. If somebody has to go in and help you get out of there, it's not that hard to get up and down for a crew.
Yeah, and I gotta admit that Wyndham is more like the Blackheads block sort of the flow of the wind. So you don't get as much wind as you do over on Blackhead and stuff. But
I don't know. You say that, I'm conjuring up in my head that time it took me an hour to go like 50 feet bushwhacking up Wyndham. I never expected I would like bushwhack into like a snow hole like I did, but the snow
It's
was
bushwhacking though.
yeah, but like it had snowed, like days before that, but the snow was so deep that you could no longer see the rock outcrop. So I'm hiking along, and it's just like normal snow cover. Your snowshoe is going down a matter of inches, maybe up to 8 inches in some spots. And then all of a sudden, I just go into this spot where next thing you know, it's like up to my chest. I'm in the snow up to my chest. And so you have this dilemma. Do I continue trying to go uphill, not knowing how much of a vertical lift or rock outcrop that the snow is blown into and I need to get up and over? Or do I turn around and go to the left or right thinking that I'm going to get around it? And I really wasn't sure. So being a dumb, stupid, stubborn male type, I just continued to try to go uphill. And I made very little progress, and it seemed to take forever to get up it. And I was planning a more ambitious hike that day, but after I bagged Windham High Peak, and I just turned around and I retraced in this area that literally took me an hour to go. And when I say 50 feet, I'm not exaggerating. Okay, maybe it was 75, but it wasn't far at all, right? And so when I got back to it, I just like tele-skied down it on my snowshoes. And and I was in what was a couple hours of very tiring snowshoeing to get up Windham that day. I was back in my car in like a half an hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's a joy of winter. You could
But I think the takeaway from that is just be flexible, and when you're running behind schedule and you're getting tired, turn around, go back,
or hydrate. There
was nothing that was going to save me that day, man. I'm telling you, true. It was one of those days where there was ground cover under the snow that I was grabbing onto to try to pull myself up this thing, and nothing was working. I was just, I was just like trying to climb this vertical wall buried in the snow out there. And I did months later, after all the snow melted, I retraced and went over to check it out. And it wasn't really that wide. I bet you I was maybe 20 yards to the left or the right. I would have just hiked right around this thing. But that day, I just headed right into this one rock outcrop, and it stalled me forever, sucked all the energy out of me. And the only thing that kept me going, is I'm out there, I'm trying to get up to this. And I said to myself, someday Stosh is going to ask me to be on the podcast. I need to live for another day. And it got me out. Yeah, that's all it took.
So thank you, Joanne, for tagging us. Once again, thank you also for hooking us up with the Panther Foundation that she went and saw like an exhibit down in or a little showing down in the Hudson Valley that I missed. That will hook us up. We'll talk about mountain lion future area. So also Richie, aka Richie's Nature Escapes, did some hot tent camping. So this is something that I would like to do in the future. So I'm very, very curious of how this Richie looked like he hauled in all this material, like a freaking steel or a stove and stuff like that, and did like a big hot tent camp. I am intrigued to do this, to be comfortable in the winter like that and to have a good time. So it was very incredible.
Yeah, I one year hiking Wittenberg saw a couple of guys that had set up a hot tent on the way up Wittenberg, and camped out over the night. And the stove unit it comes apart into flat units that you can stack up and put in your pack, and then you just assemble it on site. And there's a little stove pipe you put in. You can have a fire right inside of your tent without burning it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
I see this and I'm just like, God damn. But he had to haul like a sled behind him. So he was basically like a husky, hauling.
So what I want to know, did he have like marshmallows or something that he was like, roasting over his?
No, this was like a closed, it looked like an iron.
Yeah.
Stove. So it looked It
All right,
looked
we're gonna have to get
comfortable.
him on the show. Tell us all about it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Yeah.
Rich, he's a search and rescue volunteer with the Catskill Mountain Search and Rescue Volunteer Association. So, check them out, and we'll hopefully have him on the show and talk about this. Also, welcome back, Lisa Kwasadik was out killing it doing Indian Head and Twin, Hunter and Rusk, Fly and Bear Pen, and Balsam Lake Mountain, and spotted a picture of me on her WFA course over in the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. And this was like what my first time with the Catskill 3500 Club as the second vice president. And she like sent me like the picture of it, and then like sent me like a laughing face, because I got to admit, me having my metal like t-shirt on that you could not make out what the band was because of how deathly metal it was. She's just like, I found this entertaining, and I just loved it. It was a great memory.
Well, I have to say, in all candor, I kind of wondered where she had been for the past month. Yeah, because I don't recall seeing many posts by her on Insta. And then there's kind of like this tsunami of mountain hiking that she did. You know, Indian Head and Twin, that I'm sure, I don't know what day she went up it, but, you know, in the past week or so, those have been difficult. Hunter and Rusk, again, there's some vertical there. Fly and Bear Pen. I saw her when I was over on Fly on Saturday. I saw her and Kelsey G had signed in. I think it was on Friday. The two of them were up there. I don't think they were hiking together, but I saw them in the sign-in pad.
Oh, man, that would have been so disappointing to miss.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that she's out just ripping it up, and, you know, getting some good use out of her snowshoes that she found with some trail magic.
Yeah. Yeah. So glad to hear from you again. And once again, Lisa Kwasadik. Also, last and not least, Mike at Red Hand Adventure Guides was taking in view of Catskill from the office. So I just posted this last second, and beautiful view of the southern part of the Catskills from, I would have to say, kind of like the Hurley area. You know, it was tough to determine where he was based at. So got a beautiful view. So moving on, what are you drinking tonight, Tad? Popped open that can, like that pop cop.
Yeah, I have a bottle of Corona Light.
Oh, nice.
So low cal, low test, a couple limes in it, you know, just to kind of get me in the mood to podcast, I suppose.
Nice. I agree. So tonight I'm having Ye of Old Hudson North, Big Blackberry. This is good stuff. Todd Bold supplied me with this.
Oh yeah, wow, Todd, way to go, man.
Yeah. So
what's the alcohol content on that?
Yeah, it's a little high. What do you think?
8.2.
Do you have this before?
No.
It's good. Did I have this before?
No.
Okay. Like, it's like well done.
Did I? Oh, is it 8.2?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's how you said Lisa's Insta handle was the giveaway.
Nice.
When one syllable rolls into the other, you're somewhere a point above 7.5. Thanks, Lisa, for giving me that sobriety checkpoint earlier tonight.
So, Tad, I want to hear all about your hike on Saturday during these absolutely frigid temperatures. You sent me like messages and stuff like that, and I was seriously like, oh my God, he is taking on this by himself. So, Tad, take it away.
Yeah, so I don't know where to start, but I was out the week before and I did Sugarloaf, and it was cold the week before, but we didn't have any wind and we didn't have much snow during the week. But I took those factors into account, particularly the wind speed, the very low ambient temperature, and what they were forecasting the wind chill factor to be. And, when I looked at what was open on my grid, I didn't want to do anything that would be bushwhack related. And I wasn't necessarily interested in doing something like Sugarloaf, where traction was going to be an issue going up, any steep incline. So Balsam Lake Mountain was open. I had just hiked it the prior month because it was open on my grid for the prior month, but I figured this time I'll go in from the Dry Brook. And depending on what my experience is going up Balsam Lake Mountain on my way home, I'll try to bag a couple other peaks. So I got out to the parking lot of the two entrances. Well, first of all, getting to the parking lot was kind of an annoyance because the way I sequenced things leaving the house, I got right in the thick of the skier traffic going to Bel Air.
Oh, no.
So when you're motoring down 28 heading west and you go through Boyceville and traffic's just moving along, and then by the time you get to the Phoenicia Diner, you're going 30 miles an hour. It's kind of like Bummer City, right? So at any rate, I make it out to the Dry Brook parking area, which has two entrances, one further uphill from the other. And I thought it was interesting that the uphill entrance was, they had tried to plow it, but it looks like the plow truck got stuck trying to plow it. Yeah. So the rest of the parking area was, although plowed out very neatly, there's just a lot of plowed snow there. So if you don't get a melt soon and you start getting some more storms, the parking capacity is really going to go down there. At any rate, I was the first car in, and the wind through that notch was really, really whipping. I mean, it was just really cold. And I had given my experience a couple of weeks ago where I spent too much time like gearing up in the parking lot before I set out for the hike. Today, I was just ready to go as soon as I pulled in. And I threw my snowshoes on right beside my Jeep, snowshoed across the road. Once you got through the plowed trench along the side of the road and you were on the trail, it was loosely broken out that first uphill. And then once you got up that first rise and we're heading out towards the sign-in station, there was a very well-defined trench, and that well-defined trench continued for some distance, maybe a quarter mile, maybe a half a mile, until the trail started to turn towards the, I would say, south. And then you could see ahead how blown in it was with drifting. And along the hike up that initial stretch of old Jeep road that goes between, Schoolhouse Mountain and Balsam Lake.
Yep.
There were stretches where the wind blows in there and the drift just was running the length of the road. And when I say the length, there were sections where the drifting was, 80 feet or 80 yards, 100 yards long, and it was deep. I mean, I'm talking, it was above my waist. And I found the best way to hike that section was to get on the weather side, the windward side of the drift, where the wind had just been pounding snow into it and kind of packed down the density of that. And I was able pretty much to stay not on top of it. Maybe I would sink down 4 to 6 inches as I was going along. But that was kind of like the best way to get up through there. If you tried to get on the lee side where the snow was settling off the drift, it was just really soft and you would sometimes sink down to your crotch. So I stayed to the right as opposed to the left. Got really windy. I was making really good time going up through there. Yes, it was super cold in spots, but I felt that I really had gotten the right gear on. And I think the key.
Tad, let me interrupt. What did
Sure.
you start off with? Like layer wise?
Oh, so I kind of indicated
And
earlier.
what was the ambient temperature when you started off?
I'm going to say the ambient temperature was -5, and I would not be surprised the wind chill. Yeah, the wind was blowing so fast that when I did get there, I did hop out before I put gloves on to get my snowshoes out of the back of the Jeep. Wow. And in the 30 seconds that it took to do that, my my hands were just freezing that fast.
Wow.
Yeah, but my plan was, and other than, my typical gear setup, the only thing I changed is I have from cycling, I have these really tight fitting gloves that you would think are glove liners, but they're not. They're meant for a cyclist to be worn just exposed to the wind, but they have that Gore-Tex wind blocker fabric. So without insulation, you get a lot of dexterity, but with the wind blocker, you're going to stay warmer than you would if they were just glove liners. So I wore those, and then over them, I have these, I'm going to call them department store brand gloves. They're like a extra large, and you can wear them over these wind blocker gloves. And in between the two, just from the start of the day, I put a hand warmer in. And I could say that in my Catskill winter hiking days, it's only the second time I've used hand warmers. The last time
I remember I said something about hand warmers and you kind of like opposed to it. So this was good to hear.
Yeah, I've never needed them before, but I figured that instead of being an hour into this and then realizing I needed hand warmers and then going through whatever motions you need to go through to get them out and to activate them, let me just start out the day with them, because of my experience going to the back of the Jeep. It's like, okay, I'm going to need them eventually. So I started off with those. And I also, other than my traditional layering, I had this 100 weight North Face fleece pullover on, but otherwise was just my standard gear, which consists of my 200 gram insulated boots. I did have sock liners,
nice.
A middleweight wool sock. Then I had a pair of Patagonia base layer on my legs, and then I have these really heavy duty hard shell outdoor research pants that I typically wear hiking in the winter because they're very durable. Then I had my base layer on up top, which I normally wear. I have this really thin mid layer, which has very low insulating value, but high wicking value to get the moisture further away from my body. Then I had this 100 weight pullover. And then on top of that, I had my trusty hooded 100 weight outdoor research fleece. But that 100 weight pullover is really the only extra piece of gear I had on my body, and maybe the sock liners. And then I had a headband, a big fleece headband, and I had a skull cap on over that was really tight fitting. And then I had the hood from my fleece. And then I started the beginning of the day with my hard shell. It's not a Helly Hansen thickness. It's like $100. Yeah, it's $100 kind of like budget rain shell, if you will. I think it's a Marmot brand. But I just had that on because I figured on the outside, you need to keep the wind off your body. And with between the headband, the fleece skull cap, the fleece hoodie, and then the hard shell hoodie, I would be able to change, whatever was on my head with a lot of versatility without going in and out of my pack. I mean, you could stuff the headband into a pocket. The other thing you could also stuff into a pocket. And then you had the two hoods on. So no matter how much heat you were generating or how much wind you would get going up or downhill without going into my pack, I was just able to change gear, with zippers and whatnot. I was able to regulate my body temperature pretty good. And I motored up to the top. I hit these significant drifts. There was at points where my tracks, you could just turn over your shoulder and see how your tracks were filling in. And literally when I got to the summit, I just walked around the rock at the summit, headed back down. As soon as I got through that balsam fir forest and back to where the drifting was, my tracks on the way up, where I had been through no sooner than maybe 10, 15 minutes before, that was just all filled in. It was pretty much the same going down. My tracks were pretty much filled in by the time I got down. Wow. I did run into some hikers early on in the trench area. Two groups, first group of 3, second group of 2. None of them had snowshoes. They all looked like they had a low level of gear. And I pretty much gave the same advice to both of them. I said, when you notice that you're not covering at least a quarter mile every 20 minutes, you might as well turn around.
Yeah.
Because if you're going that slow and struggling that hard to get uphill, by the time you get to the summit, you're going to be tired, cold, and it's going to be a long way down, and you're going to regret it. So I don't know if they took my advice or not. I didn't see there was any rescues up there, but
yeah.
yeah. But the one thing is on the way up and on the way down, I periodically would ask myself what I wanted to do next, and I settled on heading over to Bear Pen and Fly again, because at least with
question, how far is Bear Pen and Fly, like the parking area, from Balsam Lake?
Maybe a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not I think the thing that takes a little bit longer is on my way over, I stopped and got a hot cup of coffee.
Nice.
Because my thermos in the Jeep was completely frozen when I got back. So at any rate, my way over to Bear Pen and Fly on Route 3, I did stop in Arkville to get some coffee, and then got to the end of the road where the gate is, the snowplow turnaround. And I was throwing my gear on again to start up that road. And interestingly, this tracked snow groomer goes through.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, it was really cool. So I didn't throw my snowshoes on. I just put them back on my backpack, made my way up to the junction where the hunting cabin is. And I decided I'm going to do Bear Pen first, because you could see that this tracked grooming machine went that direction, and you could hear the snowmobiles up there racing around. And so I thought, between this grooming thing and the snowmobiles, they're, mowing over any snow drifting that had occurred up there. And I thought that would be pretty easy going. And I'd like to get up there and down before any more drifting occurs. So I banged out Bear Pen, same as it ever was. And then I went over to Fly. I put my snowshoes on right at the hunting cabin, because I figured it's just easier getting traction going uphill with them, and using the televators makes it easier going as well, even though you technically don't need them because of all the machine tracks that were on the surface. But I put them on anyway and kept them on the way down, of course. Wore them on the way over to Fly. Fly was kind of like a Balsam Lake Mountain in the sense that there was its spots, some evidence of people going through with snowshoes. But I would say for the most part, whatever trench there was blown in. It was pretty hard to find where the firmer snow was, although I did a pretty good job of figuring out where the old trench was, and I wasn't all the time sinking down really far. But it, made it to the summit. Wasn't really that hard. Didn't seem to be that cold. Signed in. I saw that Lisa and Kelsey had been there, a few days before. I think one person had been there Friday from the sign-in. They looked like they were there on Thursday. And then I just glided down through the deep snow, and my snowshoes just really made some good time. And I wore my snowshoes all the way back down to the Jeep because I was too lazy to take them off.
Right.
And got to the Jeep, threw them in the back, geared up, took off. I think overall, in comparing my time up and down those three mountains versus average time in the summer, I really wasn't that much slower on Saturday. So overall, it was a good hike. And I, like I said before, I picked those because of the conditions. Those would be the easiest mountains to bang out. And if something bad happened, they're easy to get down and off of. And if the old man needed a rescue, it wouldn't be that hard for Stas to get up there in his electric snowmobile.
Yeah. The all-wheel drive EV would have handled it perfectly.
Yeah, I'm sure they have one. So
yeah, I do. Right. I have it. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's right. You're getting the new snowblower.
Yeah, that's true. The snowblower on the front for Bear Pen Mountain. So,
all right. This is where you ask me the question.
Like
What was the hardest part of the hike?
Yeah, that's true. So besides the negative, somewhat temperatures, what was the hardest part of the hike? Because, once again, during these negative temperatures, you deal with hydration, like fuel. Once again, you're burning calories and stuff like that. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, so that wasn't the hardest part of the hike. I'll answer this first, though, because I was up and down Balsam Lake really in about 3 hours. Refueling wasn't a big issue for me. I didn't bother to drink. I had hot fluids with me. I didn't bother to drink anything because I really didn't need it. I didn't feel cold at all going up that. Yeah, maybe my face a little bit at times, but you just have to turn your head so it's not in the wind anymore. And the hardest part of the hike was really finding a good line so you didn't sink down in the drifts. But other than that, it wasn't all that bad. And then I'm on my trip this will bring me to the real question, on my trip from Balsam Lake over to Fly Bear Pen. That's when, I ate and drank, I drank some of my hot cocoa, and then I got a hot cup of coffee, and I downed a couple Cliff bars. But the hardest part of the hike, which I anticipated, was when you sit in your car for 20 or 30 minutes after hiking and you get out, sometimes you're like really stiff. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I stopped to get the hot cup of coffee, because it was kind of like the midpoint. I figured I'll get out then, I'll do a little walk around and help prevent getting stiff, because my concern would be is if I start out on the hike up Bear Pen Fly and I start to stiffen up, it would just be like wasted effort. I'd have to turn around and not hike. So I didn't want to get over there and be all like bound up from having sat in the car for such a short period of time. So that was the hardest part of the hike. And truth be told, yeah, my left calf is, through yesterday was just a little like tight feeling, because that downtime in between the two was enough to get me stiff. But it was
calories.
Fun. Yeah, calories. I didn't burn a lot of calories, I don't think, but it was a fun hike. Two fun hikes in one day.
Nice.
So happy for all the people that were prepared to go out and have fun. And those of you who didn't, pick up the gear that works for you on days like that. One of the things I do, I started doing this back from my sailboat racing days, but I keep like a little grid or sheet that lets me know what the break points are at different temperatures for my gear. When is it that I need to put this on or that on? So I can look at that and say, okay, if these are what the temperatures are this coming weekend, I don't need insulated pants to wear, or I need this. And it just helps you be ready for what you're likely to encounter when you go out there.
True.
Preparation.
Nice. Preparation is key. So Tad, do you care of what here like I did today or no?
Sure. What'd you do today, Stosh? You go hiking, you go shopping, you do your taxes. That's what I was thinking about today, doing my taxes.
It's the time of year. So
yeah, we're getting there.
So I need sleep. Sleep is good. So I slept in today, and I was just like, my original plan was to do something somewhat short, but not too short. Maybe I was going to do part of the escarpment and go to Newman's Ledge, Artist Rock, come back down Scott Road and stuff like that. Not too crazy an elevation gain. And then I was just like, oh, maybe I'll do like Westkill. Westkill still has a considerable amount of elevation gain, offers a great view and stuff like that. But then I woke up at like 6:30 and I was just like, man, I want to sleep in. I got to go a little bit further. So I was seriously set my alarm clock for like 7:30, woke up and I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll do Bramley Mountain.
Again?
I know I can. You know what? It is seriously 30 minutes away. Mm-hmm. And I seriously love that mountain. It never gets old. Doing it clockwise, it has that, once again, you do a mile of like flat, kind of like 200 feet of gain. And then you have that 0.9 miles of 900 feet of gain. kind of feels Catskillish. So I enjoy it thoroughly. And when I arrived, I was just like, uh-oh, there's a New York State DEP there, Environmental Protection Police there. I was like, interesting. So I was just like, should I leave like a sticker and a card on the thing? I was like, I'll go against that. Let's leave no trace. So started out without my snowshoes, but it kind of, that times you feel like your heel is sinking in, and I'm like, this is wrong. Like I might be causing damage to the trench. So like a quarter mile in, I threw my snowshoes on. I was like, you know what? I might as well. And it wasn't bad. Like, I got kind of like, once you start, you get past, once again, Bramley Mountain has been added to the Fire Tower list. Great hike. You can do clockwise. You go up kind of like, I call it the Catskill way, which you do a great elevation gain, and it's not the Fire Tower Trail. And then you'll come back down the Fire Tower Trail. You do a counterclockwise, you'll go up a Fire Tower Road, and then you'll come back down up a regular hike. I did clockwise where it just goes up the hike and then come back down the Fire Tower Road. So, it looks like not many people have been up that way. There was a trench built, and then up to the quarry trail. I knew, once again, I've been up there many times. There was wind, so there was blown over. So I got to break trail a little bit. Further up I further had to break trail some even more, which was great. I found it to be phenomenal not to totally break trail, but to break some trail, just to get that feeling. And then towards the top, I really got to break trail because of the wind. And it was phenomenal. Got to the top, reached the top. I started off at 22 degrees. It was probably a little bit cooler. The wind was coming in from the west, which they have no trees on the west area. So it was just all exposed, just all wind. So threw on my puffy jacket, then threw on my Helly Hansen hard shell, of course.
What type of hard shell was that?
Helly Hansen.
Is that HELLY?
Yes, correct. Odin 9.
Okay.
They call that the Odin 9. Phenomenal jacket. Went up in the Fire Tower, enjoyed the freaking amazing views that I had. And then over off in the distance, I see Slide, and I see some snow coming in. I'm just like, oh, cool. There's some snow coming in on Slide. As always, Slide always gets the most precipitation. But then I look over more towards the west, and there's some like snow coming in. I'm like, I could leave right now and make some good time, or I could wait for the snow to come in and feel the snow on my face while it's coming in from the west. So I sat up in the Fire Tower, waited for the snow to come in, went down once or twice, and watched that snow squall come in. And, I always have this kind of feeling that I put out that vibe in the world of kind of like the karma is good. So Mother Nature brings that back to me. So I got my amazing views of the Catskills and beyond. And then all of a sudden this snow comes in, and I get that feeling of snow on me. And I'm seriously just like, maybe this is really karma bringing it to me. And it just felt like that it just was just an absolute amazing feeling of walking down the trail with that snow coming on, that it was like a full effect of winter, that I got those good winds at the Fire Tower, the wind coming from the west, which was no blockage. And I just, I wasn't cold, but I was okay. And then just the snow coming in, it was a full effect. So I was lucky. But the thing is, coming at the top of this mountain, I see coming in with the trench, and then I see this mountain is fully kind of like paved. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? It looks like snowmobile tracks is up here. I'm like, okay, this is DEP land. I don't think snowmobiles are prohibited up here. So then I look off to the west a little bit, and there's like tire tracks. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Somebody drove their vehicle up here. So I send
So
Lori.
when you say a vehicle, is it like an ATV or side by side or a full sized vehicle?
Full size.
Wow.
This was wider than it felt like wide as my hands, like my arms lit apart. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I took pictures of it and I'll have to show you. And, prohibited. They're not supposed to be up there. Yes, this is Fire Tower Road going up, but, I send a message to Lori Rankin, who is the FFLA, Forest Fire Lookout Association of New York State. And she says they are prohibited. The New York State DEP has been notified. I was like, oh, cool. They're here. I didn't get to meet the people that were up there. Unfortunately, I really wanted to. I was just like, oh, this would be really cool to meet them, to chat with them, especially about what the hell's happening, because people rode their freaking snowmobiles up here while us, are creating the trench and stuff like that, to create quality of just the hiking experience. But, I spent, usually people don't spend that much time in the winter at the top, probably 45 minutes to an hour at the top, waiting for that snow to come in.
You're saying this, and I'm looking at this. Is this your post that you put of you going up that today?
Correct. Yes, the sprinter going up at like 11 miles an hour. No way. Not at all.
So that's cool. But when you wrote late, your experience and all the sensations and the perceptions that you had being out in the woods in a snow event, I think of what we're going to hear later on tonight from Kim Levinsky and how she's evolving her Sassquad trail running program to people who have issues and barriers to accessing the outdoors and the trails, and how she's promoting and bringing about accessibility and the enjoyment of the outdoors to people with those, limitations. And that's going to be great for them in the future to be able to experience what you experienced today.
Yeah. And, we talk about the fire towers and stuff like that, which is great for these people because, maybe they can get up one of those, I don't even know what to call them. Those chairs that can bring them up to the top and up these fire tower roads and have that experience. Once again, Bramley Mountain, when I arrive up there, it kind of feels like an open summit because so much has been cut. I mean, it's horrible, but so much has been cut up at the top that it makes you feel like you're at a higher summit up in the Adirondacks or maybe the White Mountains. And you can get such an amazing view of the Western Catskills of like Mount Pisgah, the old Bobcat Ski Center, Panther, Slide, Double Top, Graham, and then the Western Catskills of the stuff. And it just makes you feel like a little bit of, I would say, alive with, once again, the wind and stuff. And then you get above that and you have nothing blocking you to the west for the wind and the weather. And I saw this and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to wait for this to come along. And I did. It was fantastic. So it was great. Once again, Bramley Mountains added to the fire tower list, which is I fully support. I suggest you take the clockwise loop, experience your regular Catskill hike. I would say I would compare this a little bit to like Balsam Mountain, to where you kind of walk flat and then you start gaining and then you're at the summit and then you come down. Once again, it's a fire tower road, but it's like 900 feet of gain in, oh God, what was it, like 0.9 miles, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Say 100 feet a mile.
That's respectable. So I see, as you're saying all of this, I see that it is about 2 hours from my house to get out there.
It's long distance, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, somebody who's going to do the fire tower challenge, and there's a lot of people that live, in the Hudson Valley and further south in the New York Metro, New Jersey area. They're going to go through Delhi, Fraser, right? I see Fraser on the map here, and other communities along the way. Where should they go for their post hike brew and bite? Walton, New York,
No, that's
Below
way far
Waltham.
away.
Is it? Yeah.
If you were to go
Downsville.
like
Yeah. Okay.
Downsville, once again, you'd probably be heading up through Delhi, Andes, Margaretville, stuff like that. If you were to do Bramley, you could probably just go off to the east and hit up what's it called, Mount Uncianta, and do that in like one session. So you get your two like most
Two
northern
for
hike.
one.
Yeah.
But where do I go for pizza afterwards? Or
There's really not that much pizza
really?
there.
And
There's
Delhi, it's a college town. There's got to be pizza there. If not, I'm moving out there and I'm going to open up a pizzeria.
Please do. Actually, there's one pizzeria place. I think it's called New York State Pizza or New York Pizza.
Oh yeah.
Haven't really been there that much, but over in Stanford, there's multiple areas. There's Sundays to go to that doesn't have pizza, but it has great burgers. And
I see the Delhi Pizza Company.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
I see Stasha's Pizza of Delhi.
There used to be
with recharging stations.
yeah, that's the one thing that was great. That's the one thing that benefits me out there. There's one place that we used to go to all the time, Shire's Pub, but it's temporarily closed, so it's under new project, and that used to have a good burger. But if you go over in Stanford, once again, there is Macadoodles. We go to all the time when we catch sunsets on Mount Uncianta, and I suggest people do that because the sun sets right over top of where the hang gliders fly, and it's just one of the most phenomenal sunsets that you could ever catch. And it's a fire tower, so you can get a great view of the Blackheads and a lot of the western part of the Catskills. So if you're going to do Bramley, I would suggest you do Uncianta at the same time, and then maybe finish it off somewhere down in Prattsville or something like that, because that's your route. You're going to be coming up through 23A, right? Through Margaretville and stuff like that. Or that's straight up 23. Sorry, 23. Coming up through Margaretville, Andes, Delhi, then you'll hit Bramley, then you'll go back over Route 10 and then hit Mount Uncianta and go back down. It's seriously like an extra half an hour, and you can drive up to Mount Uncianta. So
yeah, I see the place that gets the highest pizza reviews, and this shows everybody where my head is, right?
Sal's?
It's Prattsville Tavern.
Oh shit.
Yeah, geez. Good flatbread pizza. Decent burgers. That's a great review.
Well, how Pratt Rock?
How can you give it 4 stars and you just say the burgers are decent? Right? That sounds like it should be a 3.
We're talking about upstate New York. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We survive off of like 4 years.
So is an upstate burger? Is that where they actually like walk the cow through the kitchen and they just kind of like, they butcher it on the spot? Is that upstate?
I gotta admit, I would say not, if all, we did like local meat. Mm-hmm. Like we did, most of the people advertise like 10 minutes away. Yeah. Which is pretty crazy. Oh, I saw that cow earlier today that being butchered. It's horrible. Well, I'm sorry, all vegan people.
Yeah. I see somebody from Brooklyn gave 4 stars to this place.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
So they're from Brooklyn. I think they know food.
So that was my experience. Once again, going down the Fire Tower Road, there was tracks from snowmobiles, which shouldn't have been there. But the cool thing is that I saw people with skis kind of going off trail and skiing. I thought that was pretty cool to see.
That was the guy that you posted the picture of. That dude.
Oh yeah, you're right. He must have flied up that area. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that. But
that's becoming more popular, backcountry skiing. I see more people doing it. Actually, a couple people on Instagram this past week hit me up for areas in the Catskills I thought would be worth doing some backcountry skiing in. So nice. I clued them into some places.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that was, I'll get out. I got out this Tuesday, and hopefully I'm getting out this Sunday. So,
oh yeah, where are you going on Sunday? What's your plan?
I don't have a plan. I really would like to.
Is it going to be something on your Catskill winter list?
I would,
because I know you're aching to take a summit selfie with your Catskill winter patch. I'm just throwing that out there.
Jesus Christ. All right. So yes, I really want to hit out like Wittenberg and Cornell, but once again, my timing and stuff, I really don't want to have like a schedule. I want to get out when I want to. And
okay, you're like me. That's the joy of solo hiking is,
right?
You know, if I want to have an extra cup of coffee before I hit the trail, I have an extra cup of coffee.
Correct.
If
French
on
press,
my way,
do you do French press?
No, I can't afford fancy stuff like that. I have a Mr. Coffee maker that I bought at a yard sale in 1978. So it still works.
Same thing. I have the same stuff.
You get electrocuted every now and then when you plug it in because all the wiring's shot, but you know, it just makes coffee more fun.
But if you're looking to go out Sunday, hit me up. I don't mind to change my plans. I'm not looking to do my list. I really don't give a shit.
Really?
Just really to have a good time.
Yeah. I'll find out. Davis and I, we're doing Cornell, Wittenberg every month from now until June. Once a month. Yeah. So maybe he'll be up for
but
Sunday.
He gets out at like 6 a.m.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. But the question is whether or not you want to bushwhack it or trail hike. That's the real question.
You guys can lead the way. All right. So hit me up, hit Tad up, whatever.
Yeah.
You can do whatever. So
happy hiking.
Yeah.
Be prepared. Keep your layers at hand.
Yeah.
And don't be a couch potato.
Correct. So volunteer, 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountain Club, Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers, Trail Crew, Beverly Mountain Fire Tower is looking for some people to volunteer for this summer. And if you need stickers, let me know. I will send you them for free. I don't know if many people stick to this, but for free. So, Tad, let's go on to the weather forecast. Here is your weekend weather forecast, sponsored by Stosh's Mountain Lion Tours. This Friday, February 13th, expect sunny skies to partly cloudy skies in the afternoon, with a high of 18, a low of 16, and a wind chill factor reaching down to 0 degrees. On Saturday, February 14th, expect mostly cloudy skies to breaking sun in the afternoon, a high of 27, a low of 18 degrees, and a wind chill reaching down to 3 degrees. On Sunday, February 15th, expect sunny to mostly cloudy skies in the afternoon, a high of 28, a low of 21, and a wind chill reaching down to 9 degrees. Looks like a great weekend to be out. So once again, be safe, be prepared, and don't become tomorrow's rescue story. Ta-ta. Cool. All right. So, Ted, how about we break into the last set of amazing sponsors that we have, and then we go on to the guest of the night?
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
Awesome. So is it time for new gear for hiking the Catskills? You need to say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs. Footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze-dried meals, Catskill merchandise, and more. They have all the essentials for your hiking needs. Located in Tannersville and online, check out Camp Catskill. If you want free stickers, stop here in Tannersville. Also, check out Another Summit, a nonprofit program that leads hiking and outdoor adventure activities for veterans and first responders for free. Outdoor adventures like walking, hiking, paddling, and even backpacking. We welcome guardians of all ages and ability levels, including those with accessibility needs. Our adventures are located throughout New York and the Northeast, and we organize transit-accessible adventures throughout the Hudson Valley in New York area. Apply today at anothersummit.org. All right, so how about we get on to the guest of the night?
Let's go.
So we have a repeater back here again for the fourth time. So she must be very popular, Ted. This person must be very popular.
I believe there is no doubt about her popularity in the outdoor community. A mover and shaker. Some people are rising stars and others are just big stars in the sky.
Oh my God. Let's calm down over here, guys.
So we have tonight, Kim Levinsky joins us again to talk about Sassquad Trail Running, her trail running organization that has been around since 2018 and is doing amazing work in the Catskills and Hudson Valley, just doing event after event, donations after donations, after, we talked about this before, Kim, your trail running, but I didn't dig deep into this, and digging deep into Sassquad. I can just say, wow, you guys, you're killing it. Like I see it's just you. Is it really just you?
It's me in terms of like the payroll, but there's an army of volunteers and an incredible community, that makes the events happen. So I do the behind the scenes work, but there's a lot of people that help and play a huge role in putting on the events and creating the community.
Well, it's a fantastic job, and once again, your website will be in the show notes. So I suggest everybody go check out Sassquad Trail Running and just see what they've done in and out for the community and stuff. And I can't say anything because, God damn, you guys have just been killing it. So welcome to the show. And who is that behind you?
Oh, we got Paco is making an appearance here.
Nice. I was just like, hi, Paco. Well, congratulations. Well, welcome to the show, Kim. Good to have you back for the fourth time.
Thanks, guys.
So how about you just give a little background about yourself? I mean, we've heard this before, but go all out and especially talk about, your most recent stuff.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Kim Levinsky. I am the owner and race director for Sassquad Trail Running. We put on trail events all throughout northern New Jersey and the Hudson Highlands of New York. We're slowly creeping up a little bit further north. Last year, we added an event in Ellenville, so we're getting up to the Gunks, closer to the Catskills. But we have about one race every month. We call them trail parties instead of races because we want everyone to feel welcome, have fun, create great community. And our mission is to welcome all peoples, paces, and ages to the events. But I've been running for over a decade, and I think the last few times I've come on to chat with you all, we've talked a lot about the New York Long Path FKT that happened in 2023. So that's how we connected initially, and it's been cool to stay in touch over the years, and got to see you this summer for that screening that we did in Phoenicia, which was very fun.
Awesome. And I suggest everybody check that out. So the Long Path Journey Becoming, fantastic film. Shai was on here before too, talking about that as well. So that was awesome. So you have previously been on episode 71. So we talked about your pre-FKT time on the Long Path. 87, your post FKT of the Long Path, and then episode 167, your film, The Long Path. So you're besides Sassquad, you are like the Long Path person.
One of them. There's definitely a really awesome community that surrounds the New York Long Path. I especially love to be involved in there's a really active Facebook group of it's a combination of through hikers, section hikers, runners. And it's every week there's posts on there of folks who are out on the trail, and it's just fun. It's fun to see people going out all year round. And for me, I don't personally love the winter hiking, so it's fun to see pictures of people who are getting out on the Long Path. And right now, where there's gobs of snow out, especially up north.
Has there been a fastest known time on the Long Path for the winter?
Yes, I believe. I'm going to blank on his name, but I think he was the first person to ever do it in the winter. I could be wrong on that, but this was last year or the year before, and God, I'm totally blanking on his name. But I followed.
That's okay.
He was sharing on Instagram, and I think he was actually trying to either yo-yo or combined. What's the long distance trail that's above the Long Path? Goes up to the Adirondacks, through the Adirondacks.
Oh, the North Vale Class. Yep. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I think he was combining them. But I'll pop on my phone later.
Yeah. Just a random question that I had. And the one thing I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to ask you real quick before Tad jumps in. What did you think about our episode of the guy Chicken Fat doing the long path fastest known time?
Yes, I did, because he was when was that? He did it in this past summer, was it?
Yeah, last year, right?
Yeah. And this was the dude who got stuck at the bridge, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
Man, my heart was breaking when well, I first read about it when he shared his FKT report, and then I've seen him on or listened to him on the podcast. But that's a tough way to end. To get basically it was like a timeout, right? Like I think he had to wait overnight for the gate, and then found out afterwards that he probably could have gone through. Like, it's a heartbreaker. But it was cool. It was cool, to read his recap and just, like that wasn't the ultimate point of the experience, and it didn't ruin it for him, like it was truly a special experience for him, which I think the long path tends to have that effect on people, whether they're section hiking or through running or whatever.
Correct. So, Tad, do you want to take it next? Do you see the chat, Tad? Sorry.
Yeah, I see the chat.
Okay.
It's almost like a Chinese menu or multiple choice for me. I'm going to go with Kim. Why haven't we chatted about your podcast before?
It's my fault. It's my fault.
That's okay.
I was saying before we hit record that the Sassquad podcast is I describe it as consistently inconsistent. It's definitely a passion project. It started in 2020 when everyone and their mom created a podcast during, the height of the pandemic. And it was a very, very cool way for our community to grow and stay connected and just bring people together. It was weekly. We were like pumping out episodes weekly, doing interviews.
Wow.
And now it serves more as like an audio replay for us when we do webinars and clinics online. Like I'll upload the audio to that, and then as well as our pre-race announcements. I'm in this lifelong quest to get everybody to either read or listen or watch pre-race announcements, even though that's the joke in race directing, nobody reads anything anymore. So I put the audio on the podcast, and some people have said, they'll listen to it, which is great. So
I'm just going to dive right into that then, even though it's later on. So what is the most frustrating reoccurring thing that you as the event director see or have to deal with when people don't read and show up uninformed? What's the most common thing that just makes you grit your teeth and say, yeah, I really like doing this?
That's a great question. It's little things. Like many of our races are in a loop format. So it'll be a sequence of the loops in order to complete the distance you sign up for. So I'm just making this up, but say there's a pink loop, a blue loop, and a checkered loop. You have to do that sequence in a certain order in order to get the distance. And people, they never memorize it. And it's always the constant questions of what's the next loop? What mile am I on? And when I'm answering that question, or volunteers are answering that question for like 400 people, it's like, oh my goodness. So something we developed in the last couple of years is on the actual bibs, we've been putting the sequence of the loops, and we do it upside down. So when the runner has the bib like on their shirt, they can look down and see the sequence. And then we check them off as they finish each one. So that is problem solved that issue a little bit.
How many of these runners fall down as they're looking at their bib trying to read where they go next? Is that the new reoccurring problem?
Thankfully, I haven't heard that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Well, their lawyers are going to get a hold of you pretty soon.
That's right.
That's what I'm sensing.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I'm doing a lateral back to Stosh.
Well, thank you. What about your favorite episode of your podcast? Do you have one? I mean, you have a pretty considerable amount of episodes out.
I can tell you the one that comes to mind that was the most memorable. It was very early on in the podcasting experience, and how we used to do it. We did a live Zoom, and we sent out the link, and anybody could join the Zoom. And so we'd have like 50, 60, 70 people on the Zoom. It was very fun. It was cool. It was a way to interact. However, this was
Well,
around the
stop,
time.
stop. I'm sensing like this, however, is like, oh, this is big. This
This
is
is big.
however. Okay.
Yes.
Take it away.
So this particular night we had on the pro ultra runner Maggie Gutierrez. She's very, very talented. She is an East Coast gal, but she moved out to Colorado. I think she's from the Pennsylvania area. She used to come to our events and then she moved, and she's like, big shot, really cool individual. So we had a lot of people on the Zoom, and this was around the same time. I don't know if you remember the Zoom, they called it Zoom bombing, where bots or whatever would infiltrate a Zoom.
Wow.
And
No, I
so-
didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
I'm actually a Zoom bot, but that's another story.
So mid-episode that happened, and all of a sudden there were things on the screen that I wish everyone could unsee, but probably couldn't. It was very bad. Very, very
No way.
X-rated, like X-rated.
Wow.
And, it never happened before. Wasn't expecting it. So I'm frantically trying to like end the Zoom, restart it. People are like laughing and screaming, like, turn it off, turn it.
What episode is this? I wanna check this out.
Oh my God. Of course we didn't publish that video. We had to do kind of like a two-part, but Maggie will certainly never forget Sassquad. That's always the joke when we get like, remember that time on Zoom?
Well,
Ooh, that's
Stosh and I were really proud to say we run a family channel here. There's no cursing,
Well, we did
no
too, until that.
sarcasm. Yeah.
yeah, no cursing. Okay, I mean, I got a VPN on this thing, so nobody's hacking into this. I remember somebody saying a DEC hacks into this, but I see that and I instantly shut them down.
Yeah, should we be offended that like nobody tries to infiltrate our ranks?
That's true,
Kim is
actually.
on the radar screen, and they tried to
Oh my God.
take over her podcast, but everybody just kind of lets us slide by like we're trespassing on somebody's land, and they're just like, let them hike through. They're just wannabes.
Yeah. So, Kim, you're of course a trail runner, Sassquad Trail Running. Before we break into Sassquad and your organization, what does it take to be a trail runner? Like, I know there's different levels, but I kind of trail run or jog on the descent, but not on the way up. So is there any specific kind of like qualification you need for a trail runner to be in these events and stuff?
Yeah, I love that you added that question on there. Because I have these conversations a lot with folks when I'm out on the trail. I'm usually wearing Sassquad gear, and so it'll start a conversation, and usually it's with hikers, and I'll invite them like, hey, you should come out to a race, and then the response is usually like, well, I'm not a runner. I could never come to a trail race. And I always respond back by saying, well, that doesn't matter. The pace doesn't matter. With our events at Sassquad, I always try to give a lot of time, call them generous cutoff times. So we make our events hiker friendly for the most part. There's a few that aren't the kind of the ultra distances, but most of them, even ultras, are hiker friendly. So I don't know if there's like qualifications to be a trail runner. I think in general, trail runners are like known for being a little bit more laid back than road runners. Road runners are a little bit like, the watch and the pace and the time and eating gels. And that's kind of the joke with trail running. Like you're eating pierogies and bacon and Oreos. So if you're a foodie, you'll probably fit in very well in the trail community, but there's definitely no standard on like you have to run a certain distance or you have to run a certain pace or whatever. I always say if you're out on the trail, you call yourself a runner if you're jogging a little bit. And most people don't run uphill, especially in the Catskills. It's really, maybe you go to Manitous and you see the kind of the front of the pack. Those are the folks who are, really tearing it up. But most of us, mid back of the packers are just out there for a good time.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm sorry, Ted, but I just that I know that like the escarpment trail run, you have to do it like a qualifying time. You have to do certain events. Same thing with Manitou's Revenge, and of course like the Boston and stuff. So that's pretty cool that you don't have to do that and stuff, and that you are there like for everyone. That makes it a little bit more enjoyable, I would say, and a little bit less competitive. Like it's just that's cool.
Yeah, that's what's fun about the trail community is there is such a wide range of events. Most of the races, like, I mean, you just named two iconic races in the Catskills, and they're about as tough as you can get. I mean, Manitou's, I would argue, is one of the hardest races in the country. Definitely on the East Coast, I think it's really one of the toughest around. But like you have Manitou's Revenge. And then you can find a 5K. A great example is this weekend we're hosting a onesie race, a onesie 5K. So everybody wears a onesie when they're running around, they're running or hiking. So there's quite the spectrum, of trail running, which is fun.
Yeah, with talk like that, I think we're going to get those Russian bots popping up again.
And then oh God,
yeah, it's kind of weird. So, all right, Kim, before I go to our document here, Stosh asked you about what does it take to be a trail runner. Is there some type of minimum pace or minimum average miles per hour that somebody can look at and say, oh yeah, I can sign up for something with Sassquad because I can average X overland and be able to do that? Is there a number that you have for that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we have on the Sassquad website is that information exactly. So we'll say, you have 6 hours to complete the half marathon. Therefore, I don't have the numbers in front of me and I can't do the math really fast, but you have to average X amount per mile in order to finish in 6 hours. So we always provide that information so people can, make the decision of which distance they want to sign up for. But that's on the website. So, and if you're signing up for another race where maybe that information isn't available, you can figure that out. Like you take the total time that you have and then divide it by the miles and figure out what your pace needs to be. So,
and for the entry or the beginner level, what is the general pace that you're looking for? Is it 2 miles an hour, 2.4? 3.1? Any idea on that?
Yeah. I mean, generally our events that are hiker friendly are between 2 to 3 miles an hour. The ones that are, maybe not like a little bit longer distance where we have, a lot of times the permit will dictate what we can do out there. So, some of the events, like the Minnewaska one is a great example. Like it would be challenging, I think, to hike the entire 25K within the 6 hour time limit because of the terrain. Like you're starting from the bottom of Ellenville and you start with that huge climb, to get up to eventually High Point. And you're on the long path. So it is very technical. So yeah, total range just depends on the distance, depends on the time cutoff for each race.
Okay, so going to Sassquad and why and how you started it, the first thing I really want to know is the name. Where did it come from?
Very true.
I love that. I'm inevitably asked that question on all podcasts, which is fun. So the story is back in 2017. I signed up for a race with my sister and our friend. We went out to, I think it was up to Vermont. It was the Von Trapp. It was a half marathon up in Vermont. Really, really beautiful race. And we decided like, oh, we should make some shirts. Like, let's have matching shirts. And we decided like, oh, let's put Sasquatch on it. Sasquatch is fun. And then the running joke that's been going on since then, since 2017, is my sister says she invented the word Sassquad by combining squad and Sasquatch. I still think I created it, but the debate will be going on for years to come. But that's how we combined it. And then the next year when I organized the first race, it was a no-brainer. I was like, this is perfect because there's the branding is easy. Like everybody knows Sasquatch. It's a universal symbol. And then squad is, it's community. It's the heart of what we're trying to do with the races and build relationships, across all the folks who come out to the events.
Mm-hmm. So that, I guess that is a perfect segue into the next question. Why and how did you start Sassquad? I mean, presumably there was other organizations out there already organizing trail running events. Why'd you get involved with starting your own?
Yeah, so back then in 2018, there definitely were not as many race companies as there are now. There was really one main company in New Jersey, and they're still around, called NJ Trail Series. So a lot of it came from conversations with friends where, I was sharing how I had this idea and I really wanted to put on events because trail running had already become very transformational for me. And so just with talking with friends, it kind of, the question came back of like, well, why not put on a race and see where it goes? And after the first event that we put on in 2018, it was just a very, very overwhelming positive reception from the community. And people were asking like, when's the next race? When's the next race? So then over the course of a few years, I was able to leave my full-time job at the time and switch to doing Sassquad full-time.
Wow. Now it kind of makes sense now that you say that you're doing it full time, because I see like updates all the time, updates on social media and then your podcasts and stuff. And I'm just like, how the hell does she keep up with this? Because I cannot even do this on my podcast, which is insane.
Yeah, definitely full time, and it was like it was a few year transition. So Sassquad started in 2018. I was working full time at an administrative job at an inpatient rehab center in North New Jersey, just doing admin work, 9 to 5 type of thing.
Well, great, awesome.
Yeah, so over the course of like 3 years, is I dropped to part time and then went to per diem, and then was eventually able to make that switch of going full time with Sassquad.
Sounds like a dream.
It is. So, it really is. Truly.
So when going from that first event to where you are at present, what was the biggest or most difficult obstacle along the way? I mean, something that you were like, how am I ever going to be able to do this? Or why is this so frustrating to do? You've already told us about trail runners who don't read the materials. But what is it that comes to mind when it was like the most challenging, problematic thing for you to navigate through?
I mean, it's definitely figuring out how many bananas we need every race. That's the most challenging thing. That's another running joke with race directors, is you can never buy the right amount of bananas, and you can never have enough porta-johns at a race. And
there's like no AI formula that helps you with that you just plug in, like how many miles runners, you need 1 porta-john per 3 miles or...
Yeah, and that's kind of the learning curve, is you figure out, because it varies too with like if we have a looped race where runners are coming back every time, you're going to want to have more restrooms compared to like an event at Ellenville where they're really just at the start area for the start and the finish. So you don't need as many. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the most difficult, challenging obstacle, I know on your notes you said other than the pandemic, so I won't reference that, but I think right now there's challenges with what's going on in our country specifically. So that's something that I'm putting a lot of focus and energy on, with collaborating with community members, of just figuring out like how can we do a better job and do more to reach the marginalized people in our community, because that's a real issue that's happening right now in the trail running space. Is there's a lot of folks out there who, people of color, just don't feel safe going out to run, and there's a ripple effect of that. I mean, for one, that's horrible to not be able to feel like you're safe to go out on the trails. But then, that means, well, if someone doesn't feel safe going out to run on their own and they're not training and then they're not feeling safe going to races. So a lot of the brainstorming that I've been doing with folks in the community is figuring out like how can we mitigate some of that for people who are feeling nervous or apprehensive coming out to races, especially in northern New Jersey. We're in a very populated area. So just recently we call it the Squatch Together program, where if people are feeling nervous or apprehensive or even besides that, new runners who have never come to a race before and they're like, what is this place with pierogies and Oreos and stuff? We've got a database basically of over 100 people who've already volunteered to just, it's like a buddy program. It's like a buddy program of where we can match people up to just, provide a little bit more support on race day.
Yeah. So when you initially voiced that response, I was kind of like, wow. But then it just like flooded in me that it makes complete sense that would be an issue. So what I would wonder is, how is it, if at all, over the last 3 to 6 months, have you seen a decline in race participation or event participation, or a decline in people signing up for future events? And to what extent are you able to trace that to, can I use the word racial profiling, maybe, and people being concerned that they're going to be targeted going out and participating or just going out in general? Have you seen that?
Yeah, definitely. I think not as much in my own, our own Sassquad community. Like our numbers are still consistent, and that's something that this past year, I started collecting that data during the registration process, and people it's an opt-in where they're sharing race and ethnicity, as well as if they're a part of the LGBTQ community. So that has been incredibly helpful to have a pulse on it and to know like which races, do we need to do a better job of getting more folks out to the event. But I think what I've seen probably more in the trail community is it's affecting races specifically more out west towards like Arizona is a big one where I know a lot of BIPOC individuals are just like not going out to events anymore because, some of these races, especially the longer ones, it's like 200 miles through the middle of nowhere, Arizona, or close to the border and everything. And it makes sense. Like, and that's just tough. It's tough. And I think as race directors, we all need to really be focusing on safety plans and emergency response plans. And that's something too, like I've been revamping with Sassquad is, thinking through what is our response going to be if the off chance that, maybe ice is in the area, again, unlikely, especially up the further north we go. But, we have a lot of events in Essex County, New Jersey that are very populated, densely populated areas. So yeah, it's easy, I think, to get discouraged, everybody in the world right now. And I think for a while I was stuck in a place of like, oh my gosh, like what is trail running? Like, what am I going to do? Post on Facebook one more time about, something goofy. And so it's taken a little time, but I feel a lot better, I think, in the space that I found myself now with Sassquad and in the content that we're pushing out and trying to send, very clear messages about where we stand as a community and organization, just wanting to support people and make it a safe place.
Yeah. And that's the way I kind of saw it with you in the long path. You talk about the long path where it was a lot of, if you haven't seen the long path, it's not just about completing the long path. It was about something else that Kim was going through and about, recent past events, and that's what I kind of saw Sassquad as being, not just a place for just trail running, but also a place for you to, welcome everybody and anybody that just, might have had some past previous, problem or something like that, and running has got them out of the situation. And then you join Sassquad and you're a community that helps each other out and overcome those problems. That's what I saw Sassquad as, and that's beautiful. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. And that's the goal. I mean, absolutely, that is the goal of Sassquad, is to create that safe space. And I think something that's been cool over the last couple years, as it continues to grow, is I'm slowly learning to release the grip a little bit and invite other people to be leaders within the community. I know a lot of small business owners, we struggle with stuff like that. But that is truly, I feel like, when the magic is started happening, even more so. Just this last year, two really cool programs that developed in Sassquad. One of them is called the Team Hippogriffin. So we made up the word hippogriffin, because we're all about mythical creatures. But this idea came from a couple of community members who worked specifically in the special ed population. They're teachers and OTs. And, they came to me saying, what if we create a program where we can get athletes with disabilities out on the trails? And again, like a buddy system where we're training volunteers to serve as guides for these athletes. We could start doing monthly meetups. And so that has been, oh my God, one of the coolest things ever. And I told the girls who are leading it, I am in the sport role. I'll do all the admin stuff, the spreadsheets, the advertising, and all that. And then when the events are happening, I'm there and just kind of watching it all unfold. And it's incredible. It's incredible to see folks come out. A lot of them are teenagers and young adults, and often their parents will come. And so I'll get to have conversations with the parents, and they've many times just expressed our kid has never been able to go into the woods ever because, the opportunity just hasn't been there. So I think, that's been cool is Sassquad is very much evolved beyond the races, and it is, my friend has referenced it, calling it an ecosystem. I like that kind of analogy of we're trying to create pockets within the community that make space for everybody.
Yeah. Kim, you say that, with disabilities and stuff like that. I work in the field, and that's basically what me and my wife do on Sunday, one Sunday a month, is take them out to do stuff that they can normally can't do. We this previous weekend, we went to a hockey game. Soon we're going to be taking them up to Plattekill to do some snow tubing. So,
amazing.
The joy on their faces that they get when they get to do this stuff that they normally wouldn't do, and they're just no way, and then they do it and they're just wow, I had a great time. So amazing what Sassquad is doing. So that's so cool. So kudos to you, kudos to the people who volunteer as well with Sassquad. So I appreciate it. So what is Sassquad? How is it different from other different races? I know you hold a lot of events. So Spartan races, Steep Endurance, Run Wild, stuff like that. Why is Sassquad different? I mean, you kind of named that before, but.
Yeah, again, I think that's what's so cool about the trail community is there are so many different organizations that have different vibes and offer different types of events. Spartan is kind of in its own category, more like obstacle course racing. I know they did start doing some trail races, but yeah, I mean, I think probably it's, I don't know. I think we have a pretty wide variety of distances, ranging from kids 1 mile up to 100 miles is the longest one. But something that I really love about the Northeast Trail community is that I have really great relationships with most of the, majority of the race directors here that I know. And so there's a lot of collaboration. I just had a call with some of the folks with the Escarpment Trail race, and we're trying to, just brainstorm how to get more women to come out to escarpment specifically, and more mountain events to get, more female participation and non-binary participation. So I love that. I think it's really cool that we can, support each other. This past year, or for 2026, I collaborated with Amy Kohler, which I think you guys maybe know. She puts on the event Climate for Climate up in Bel Air area in the summer.
Yeah.
So we created we call it the Mountain Madness series, where it's 2 of her mountain events and 2 of the Sassquad races mountain events. Yeah, it's just a fun challenge for people, like complete all the races in a year, and we're giving out like a little bit of a swag item or something like that. So
Nice.
it's cool. Yeah, I love supporting the other race directors. Like we go to each other's events either to volunteer, participate, which is really fun.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's the way I see it, is that, Sassquad welcomes all and everybody alike, and then you do different events. So maybe I'll try to participate in one of these events and not get injured. That's a problem.
That's a good goal. You know what else? I'll say one thing that probably sets us apart is we just got a pickle fountain, a pickle juice fountain. So,
What?
Yes. I don't know of any other
I get it.
races
I get it. I understand it. Wow.
I mean, pickle juice, doesn't that offer like a lot of like replenishment from a race or something?
It's fantastic. Yep. And then when it's like cascading in the fountain, I mean, it's perfection.
It's like
right?
Nirvana. Wow.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
that's
everybody
probably
pulls up in their onesie and like, does the pickle fountain dance and rolls around.
Yes.
Very
And the
weird,
last race, it was pretty funny because they thought it was lemonade because it's like the same color. So they were asking volunteers, is that lemonade? And the volunteers were like, yeah, definitely lemonade.
Oh,
So they
yikes.
get a shot of pickle juice.
All right. So I need to know, is the pickle juice, does it come like in a powder and you have to mix it? Or is it jugs of pickle juice?
100%.
Just how do you get this? Do you transport it with a forklift?
Right?
Does it come in on I mean,
Is this
tell
a New
us
York
about
City
the
thing?
logistics. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's actually pickle juice companies that sell like gallons of pickle juice, and there's a gal, her name is Jennifer Rankin. She actually just took over. She's a new race director for the Catskill Marathon. Really
Nice.
neat girl. She's one of the race directors for Run Wild, and I believe she's an ambassador with the pickle juice company. So anytime she comes to the event, she's like, I got more pickle juice. And she brings like gallons and gallons of pickle juice. So we'll use that. Or, a lot of times we do have pickles at the race. So, you just dump the juice once it's done, into the fountain and keep the good times rolling.
I guess I got to do a little bit more trail running to like notice.
No, what Stosh is really thinking is there hard pickle juice?
No
True.
hard pickle juice.
No? Oh, well.
Not at our races.
Yeah, we're not that interested then.
So that's
Oh, well.
what's in the trail runners, hydration filters when they're running.
Could be.
Is pickle juice. I understand now. It's just a liter of pickle juice. Crazy.
So back to maybe a more serious note. It's kind of hard to do anything after a pickle juice fountain,
right?
With people who are like electrolyte depleted in onesies, trying to drink out of the fountain. But so you start off in 2018 with this concept, this idea, and it's been 7-8 years since then. You seem like you're in a good place with Sassquad. Are you ahead of where you expected to be, right where you expected to be? Where are you now relative to what you envisioned this project becoming over the course of 7 or 8 years?
That's a really great question. I can confidently say it's grown beyond anything that I imagined it would be. I mean, really, like I mentioned before, the goals at the beginning were to create a community where people could come and of all backgrounds, again, the mission, all peoples, all paces, all ages. So I think that we have done that. There's definitely room to grow for sure. And that's something, I think probably most organizations are always chasing after that to improve, each year. I think some of the best feedback always comes from runners and participants. So that's been really valuable. Is after every race, I send out a post-race survey and tell people, there's a series of questions, but then also like, please tell us, how can we improve? What can we do better. And a lot of improvements have come from folks who have shared ideas. But I mean, man, there's so many things. Like one of the goals for this year is to get some adaptive wheelchairs at the events, the events that are appropriate for that. And again, just trying to expand access to the trails. One program that has been, again, very much similar to the Team Hippogriffin is our Squatch Kids Trail Club. So we partnered with this middle school trail running club in Hackensack, New Jersey, and folks in our community donate constantly. I mean, I've been blown away by the generosity of folks, with funding these programs. But we've been able to have every kid at any race they want to can come on full scholarships. Like, we've never run out of funding yet. And that's been incredible. Like, it's been well over 150 registrations of these kids coming in. And a lot of them, again, never stepped in the woods ever, Hackensack, New Jersey is 70% BIPOC. So a lot of the kids that are coming out are also bringing their parents and their family and their siblings, which has been so powerful to see because, I think what I've just learned from conversations with families is that, their mom and dad are here because the kid got a scholarship to come, and now they're running races together. Like, the parents are coming back, and essentially it's broken that generational trauma associated with the woods, because a lot of for a lot of folks, I remember one of my friends said to me this past year is that the woods have not been friendly to people of color, and so that's been something where it's been a huge goal, is just to get more kids out onto the trails, because they're the future, right? Like, one of the fun things this last year was we did a screening of the Long Path film with the kids in Hackensack Middle School. And my favorite part about that screening was at the end, I said, okay, raise your hand if you're going to do the long path when you get older. And I was kind of joking. And like almost all the girls' hands went up in the room. And, I was talking with a couple of them after, and they're like, yeah, we're definitely going to do the long path. Like, we just love trail running. It's been so much fun to start running this last year. So that answer kind of weaved around in a couple circles, but
well, it was interesting. And something else I would find interesting is whether or not your work with Sassquad has facilitated or generated interest in other people in other parts of the country starting a similar program. Are you aware of any, other programs that have now come along after yours that are similar to it elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in chats with folks every year. There's it's called the U.S. Trail Running Conference, where it's basically a summit for race directors. Last couple of years, it's been in Knoxville. And that has been such a cool experience because, it's very rare that you can sit down in a room with a bunch of other people who do the same thing as you, especially race directing. It's definitely a niche occupation. So I think this last year, it was in October, there's some really cool conversations with other race directors. One of the programs that, I shared about was we started doing Spanish translations for our, the website and the emails for anybody who requests that. And, so that started the conversation with other race directors of like, well, how do you translate into Spanish? And I said, well, I hired somebody. I hired a student from Montclair State. He's from Columbia, and he translates everything. So yeah, I think it is a ripple effect. In that same light, I've definitely gathered up ideas from other folks as well.
Awesome. So now we'll break it into your kind of events that you have. So we'll talk about kind of your past events, kind of give influence on people, who maybe want to join. Let's do some we'll call this rapid fire. So about your past events. So favorite past event.
like a specific year race or like the actual race?
Actual race.
Okay, actual race. I'm so bad at rapid fire.
That's okay. I can edit out the silence.
Good. We have a race called the Squatchy Surprise that's in July, and it's a wacky race format where we have 4 different colored loops of different distances that correspond to golf ball colors. So before every loop, a runner will reach into a bucket of golf balls, and whatever color they pull out is the loop that they're going to go run. So it's like,
Wow.
it's controlled chaos in the best way. Like everybody's running different loops and you don't know what you're going to run. So it's a timed event where people can come out for 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours. And it's just so fun. Like, for the 12 hours, it never gets old watching people reach in the bucket and the emotions that come up of like, oh, I didn't want to do that. Or yes, I'm excited about that. So that's, I think, it's a very fun event.
No, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. Have you captured that on video and stuff like that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
I'll find that out and put that in the show notes so people can see. What about your toughest event?
Toughest. I know it's a toss up between it's definitely the New York races. So, we have 2 in Harriman, Big Bear North, which is primarily around like West Mountain and, it's out of Anthony Wayne. And then we have Big Bear South that's in Tuxedo. I think, and then the Minnewaska race. So I think probably the feedback I've heard the most is that Big Bear North 10K is the toughest. Like it's packed the most in the short amount of miles, very, very rugged. There's some scrambling going up to the West Mountain Shelter and on the Dunderberg Trail, Rambo Dunderberg Trail. So I think that's probably the toughest, and we've had some spicy weather. That's kind of what we're known for at Sassquad. So doing that in pouring rain is tough. So I would probably go with Big Bear North.
Interesting. So what about the longest?
The longest would be our Wild Goose Trail Festival, where we offer 100 miles or a timed event of 36 hours. So the 100 also, you have 36 hours to finish. We actually give 36 hours for the 100, the 100K, and the 50 mile. So the 50 mile, that makes it most definitely hiker friendly. And even the 100K is about 62 miles. You could hike that in 36 hours. So that's our longest event by far. Yeah, the Wild Goose Trail Festival.
Okay, so what about the shortest?
The shortest would be probably, throughout the year, we offer several kids 1 mile runs. Those are for the kids. And then beyond that would be, we have a bunch of 5Ks that we put on. So that's about 3 miles. We do have an event that I've been trying to get rid of for many years, but the people keep wanting it to come back. Again, it was born out of COVID. It's a fun run. It's not actually... Well, I won't say that. I think people do come to race. It's the Eggnog Slog 1 mile All-Star Classic. So people chug 8 ounces of eggnog, run a 1/4 mile, and repeat that 4 times. So they're drinking.
How much puking is involved in this?
Oh, there's so much puking, dude. It's disgusting. It's like it gets worse every year. I don't know how it's possible.
This is fantastic. Oh my God, Tad, I think we have a new live episode that we're going to go do.
Oh.
So the puking consists of eggnog.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Projectile eggnog, if you want
Do people come in costumes for that, or just like firefighter gear, scuba gear, stuff that's like, easy to hose off?
We had a couple of like holiday elves that showed up this past year, which was festive, because we usually do it in December around the holidays times. But yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. And I don't like putting it on, but every year people want to do it.
It sounds pretty fantastic. So I'm going to definitely look into that. And Tad, we're going to have we're going to run with people what are you thinking?
Yes.
Waterproof microphones.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already, with shortest is really the family friendly. So how about like future events that you wanted to talk about.
Like races that we would like to do?
Yeah. Well, no, like I would say
Or
stuff
events coming up.
Yeah, that's coming up that you
Okay.
want to promote kind of stuff.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if you're in northern New Jersey, we do have the onesie race that's coming up this Saturday. We still got spots for that. Been telling people we're getting a heat wave. It's going to be like 30 degrees instead of, like single digits. But that is in this weekend in Mahwah, New Jersey. We hosted at the Trail Conference headquarters at Ramapo Reservation. And then beyond that, we've got the Squatch Apple Trail Party, which is March 7th. We've only got, I think yesterday when I looked, it was less than 50 spots left. So we're going to be selling out for that. But that's distances 11 mile, 20 mile, 50K, 50 mile. And then the two races in April are the Big Bear North, which is a 10K and half marathon in Bear Mountain, New York. Very, very rugged scrambles. That's one we were talking about earlier. And then at the end of April, the 25th is the Squatchywaska event up in Minnewaska. But it actually sold out in 2.5 days. So
Wow.
back in January,
Nice.
I know.
Oh,
It's really exciting, that event. I think this next year we're going to move to like a lottery system to make it a little bit more fair for folks who, we'll have a window where you can put your name in and then we'll go from there. But it's exciting. The last 2 years it's sold out very quickly.
What makes it so popular?
I think it's the area that we're exploring in Minnewaska. Like there are other trail races at Minnewaska, but they tend to be more on the other side of the park on mostly carriage roads, which are beautiful. I mean, stunning, absolutely gorgeous, and you get great views. But it is, it's not technical. It's crushed gravel, very, very well maintained. I think the draw to this is how tough it is. How rugged the long path section is. We take them from Ellenville up to High Point, and then they get to go by Brigadier Falls, which is, I mean, just unbelievably gorgeous. And then they're along the ridge line. They pass that the Marathonza Lake, and then eventually go back down to Ellenville. But I think and also again with the spicy weather, like last year it rained so hard. They had no views. Like they got up to, they climbed thousands of feet expecting to see the Catskills and, beyond up to New England, that 360 view, and there was nothing. Like it was just a wall of white fog. But people, when they came back, they were just like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. Even though you couldn't see anything, it was like another world. It was, so wacky with the fog and the pitch pines and the cliffs and everything. So I think just word of mouth has gotten people really excited about the event. And you can't go wrong in the Gunks. Like it's just such a unique area of the Northeast. I think very similar to the Catskills, where the Catskills has its own personality that's not like anywhere else. I think the Gunks has that as well. It's not like anywhere else.
True. Now, with also these events, you also have, I found this quite interesting on your webpage, meetups. What can you tell us about the meetups? Not just events, but meetups.
Yeah, again, I think it's been a really cool way to build community, where we're providing these free meetups, no costs involved. We ask for people to RSVP simply so we can communicate with them leading up to the event. But yeah, this year, again, this was an idea that came from community members of wanting to host monthly meetups that were geared more towards new runners and people who, want to be out on the trails with other people. I think that's a very common thing that I hear is that, people shy away from the trails more so than the road because they just don't know anybody else who wants to go run in the woods with them. And so, that I hear that a lot, and especially from women is a hesitation more so with the safety aspect of it. But so we organized that this April with monthly meetups that are in combination with our team Hippogriffin, which is again an awesome way to just fully integrate folks of all different backgrounds to be on the trails at the same time. But I think something that's evolved too is just meeting really cool local small business owners. I've really shied away from doing any kind of big corporate sponsorships. The sponsors and partners we have are very much local community members. I think the majority of them are female as well. They're just these badass women who, have their own companies and stuff. So, we've partnered with a gal who has like a bodywork massage, breath work type of things, and she's been leading breathwork meditation hikes, which again is like that was something years ago. If you said like, Kim, you're going to be hosting a meditation hike, I was like, what? No way. I think I've evolved as a person as well, where like that again is just we're reaching people who would never come to a trail race, but they're we were up in Minnewaska this fall and did one of those breathwork hikes, and it was so cool. I mean, just such a cool experience. We're doing like a plant walk where this woman is she's a botanist and she teaches while we're walking through the woods about edible plants and medicinal plants, which again, like that's something personally like, oh, it sounds really cool, but I probably wouldn't go out of my way to do it. But now, through Sassquad hosting events like this, again, like we're meeting people who with an event like that aren't even hikers. They're coming out and then just getting exposed to the trails and a lot of them are like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad, to walk in the woods, something like that. So
Yeah.
but it's been cool. Yeah, it's been really neat, I think, to meet. I've met so many incredible people over the years. That's probably been my favorite part about Sassquad.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, Kim. So this is the point in the evening. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let out the air slowly, and tell us 10 years from now, where do you envision yourself in Sassquad? What do you see as the evolution? Where do you want it to be? What would make you happy for this project 10 years from now?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm in a therapy session right here.
Yeah, well, this is
stuff.
I mean, it is, Stosh and Tad. We are kind of like, hiker therapists.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, what a phenomenal question. I can tell you what I don't want. I don't foresee like franchising and putting races, like, because people ask that a lot, like, oh, you're going to put races around the country. I think there's so much opportunity and work that can be done in our own community here. I think that's been really special. Like Sassquad has expanded. Most of the races were in West Orange, and then years have gone by, it's expanded. We're going north is primarily the direction. But yeah, I think it's coming back. I think accessibility is the really big overarching theme is trying to continually find ways to make access to the trails easier for people and communicate that message of like the trails really are for everybody. I think for folks who maybe grow up experiencing the trails on a regular basis, you don't think about that. Like you don't think about how, like right now, I've seen a lot on social media when posts will come up addressing what we talked about earlier with safety and access to the trails. There's a lot of people who just are like, well, trail running's for everybody. What's the problem? What are you nervous about? Just very, very kind of, I don't know if they're off the cuff comments or what, or maybe they're bots. I don't know. But I think it is an honest opinion of a lot of people. And again, it just comes back to kind of that, well, if that's something you've never had to think about in your whole life, like, let's have some empathy and also recognize, the privilege that a lot of us have had with access to the outdoors. So yeah, I think that is definitely something I'm very passionate about is trying to expand that access.
That's very cool. Well,
I agree.
Yeah, we wish you the best with that, and we want you to come back more and more. to keep us updated and to let us know how we can help you get out your message and make all of this successful. And although this might be considered somewhat of a high note, I want to ask you the next question. It's just kind of like a mundane logistical question. It's either event day or the day before. Do you have to like go out and rent a truck or something to bring all this stuff to the venue?
Yeah, right.
Or how do you get like the pickle fountain there and all the other equipment that you must need? Are you like the proud owner of a little truck, a van? What's going on with that?
Yeah. I mean, even that, that's been an evolution too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I started with, what I have, I think first I would borrow, my dad had like a Ford Explorer. So I could fit stuff in there, and then I have a couple friends pick up things. And then from there, I got a pickup truck. Then I got an enclosed trailer, like a 5x8 trailer. And then I, 2 years ago, purchased a high top cargo van, like a Ford Transit.
Wow.
And, it continues to grow. Like for the bigger events like Wild Goose, basically like the ultra marathons where it's all day, I do rent a U-Haul. Like I can't fit it in the van anymore. There's just so many pierogies, there's so much pickle juice.
Yeah. So do you drive it yourself, or you have somebody else that's doing the wow, that's crazy, man. You're like, you do just about everything.
Wow.
I mean, you got to kind of learn on the fly. I think probably with a lot of professions, with small business, you don't really know until you know, right? Like it's a lot of things you figure out. I think when you participate in a race as a runner, a lot of us think like you just show up to the start line, oh, everything's here. It's ready to go, and then after the race, like some fairy comes and just, makes everything go away. But, that's been an evolution as well, just getting systems in place and the checklists, and I have a storage unit, call it Squatch HQ. So
nice.
it's fun. It's been a blast. It's been an absolute blast over the last however many years since 2018.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing. So last question for you, Kim. We have this all the time, of course. You already know this because this is your fourth time that I'm post-hike brews and bites. What do you want to throw out there for people to get after one of your Sassquad trail runs?
Oh, well, I can say this because I just did a shout out for them. I've been reaching out to local spots in Ellenville, trying to, push that info out to runners ahead of time so they can, support the folks in Ellenville. But there is a coffee shop that I have not been to yet. I think it's called Morningside. It's in Ellenville. So I'm definitely going to go check that out the next time I'm up there. But give them a shout out because they just reached out and asked us to share their information.
Nice. They are in the show notes. I suggest people who are going that way, check it out. So thank you, Kim, for joining us on episode 208. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to hearing more from Sassquad. Great to chat with you about Sassquad trail running and how you've evolved over the past freaking 8 years with your success and stuff. And we can't wait to hear about you more in the future. So thank you for joining us on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. We should set up a discount code for the podcast for people to come out to our races. So
I'm down
gonna make
for
a
it.
note of that so I can set that up.
Yeah, definitely. I did as well. So excellent. So thank you once again to the monthly supporters and monthly sponsors of the show. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who has donated some hard ciders and donated just anything as well. And once again, thank you to everyone who is still listening on episode 208, where Kim joins us again to chat about her passion for Sassquad trail running. And, Kim, good luck in the future. And we hope to see you again for the 5th time.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night, Kim, and we'll see you in the future.
Okay. See y'all.
Right.
Enjoy
Bye.
dinner, Kim.
Yeah, enjoy dinner.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.